As this episode's sponsored by P-Cube, and thanks to those guys, we will have a couple of copies to give away. We're going to talk about the really interesting Bridge Curse 2.
Yep, the Bridge Curse 2, The Extrication, is the game we're looking at today, just in time for Halloween. And this is a standalone sequel to the original Bridge Curse game, and it's also actually based on a movie, which I didn't know until we started looking into the game for this particular video.
Absolutely. All right. What's it all about? Well, let's find out.
So in terms of story then, the game takes place in the Wenhua University in Taiwan, and initially you play as a character called Su Lian, who is investigating a viral video made by students in the university who are reenacting a murder that took place within the university in the 1960s. Their short piece of footage for their upcoming film shows what appears to be a ghostly hand grabbing at one of the actors as it plays, and Su Lian is here to see just what's going on. You do play as other characters as the game goes on. There are 4 protagonists in total, and you'll see the events of the night from their perspective.
The university itself does have more cultural significance. It is actually a real place and also has many myths and legends surrounding it, involving ghosts and various apparitions that have appeared to the pupils.
As I mentioned, this is based loosely on a film named The Bridge Curse Ritual. The part that I've seen that seems to borrow or take inspiration from that film is the fact of the original architect of the university disrupting its building in terms of 8 trigrams that would have warded off evil spirits. Owing to the fact these aren't here, anyone that dies within the university, their spirit cannot escape, and they become enraged, looking to attack those that still live.
So gameplay-wise, it's a first-person perspective survival horror game?
Yeah, it has some of the tropes of survival horror, more a kind of puzzle-orientated walking simulator to some degree, where, as I said, you play as Su Lian to begin with. Early parts of the game see you trying to avoid the security guard as you sneak your way into the university, and things go awry quite early on as the clock hits midnight and the spirits in the building are unleashed.
To improve or add to the story, you've also got a mobile phone, which will put you in contact with several different characters. You can also reply to certain conversations at specific times.
You'll need to explore the building, looking for maps and key items, solving minor puzzles to begin with, unlocking new doors in the university or new areas to be able to access and obviously move the story forward. Once it gets to the point where things go wrong, if you like, new mechanics are added, including that of a lamp that you acquire. Now the lamp serves 2 purposes. First of all, it can quell any demonic areas, allowing you to walk through, but secondly they are used to protect you from the ghosts or the spirits that you'll encounter.
A lot of horror games do have a stealth focus. How does that play out in the Bridge Curse 2? Because I know when it starts, you're trying to evade a security guard. Does that progress?
Yeah, in the same way that you'll try to avoid that early security guard, that similar idea is used for some of the ghosts, in that you do need to creep past them. But that's where the lamp that I just mentioned comes into play. So what happens is the lamp can charge up, and if you are caught by the ghost with the lamp charged, you are allowed like a free hit.
Right.
You kind of smack them around the head with the lamp, stunning them momentarily, and then you can make your way off. You'll have to wait for that lamp to recharge to do that again. So if you're caught before that's charged a second time, it's game over and you'll go back to the last checkpoint. You can choose to have the game tell you when the lamp is charged. There'll be a symbol in the bottom, I think it was the left-hand corner of the screen. If you disable this in the options, then you'll have to manually check the lamp. It has a symbol on it that fills up over time to know whether it's ready. So it's just up to you whether you want that extra layer of responsibility, I guess, as you try to survive, or whether you just rather have it quite clear on the screen.
So aside from the stealth and the first-person controls that have you creeping around the environment, there are lots of different puzzles. So maybe specifically we can talk about a couple of those.
Yeah, there's an early example which is of a safe that is locked, and you need the 4-digit combination, and it's quite clever in how you find this. You'll need to use visual clues and objects that you've acquired to that point. Moving past this, there is an early, I suppose, boss battle, you could call it, set in a computer room. This is when you're playing as one of the other characters, where the spirit dares you to play a game with them, and it basically revolves. Again, you'll have to find the clues of the game around the area. It doesn't just tell you them, which I thought was quite clever, because it's based on someone in the university creating an actual game, and the spirit kind of personifies it. And so you'll need to find the clues within the room and then use the monitors to try and defeat this ghost. I won't give any more than that away, but yeah, it's a clever use of kind of visual and audio storytelling manifested in the gameplay.
You can bring up a map which shows the various floors. You can flick between these, and your objectives are marked by a green area and sometimes other symbols so that you can progress in a reasonably straightforward way.
Yeah, and again, sometimes you'll have multiple objectives at once. It may be, there's at one point again, there's like a treasure hunt almost, where you need to find certain artifacts, and you'll have a number of different areas marked that you can explore. And in classic survival horror style, you'll need to find the map in the first place, which I do always like in a game, because it gives you those moments of trepidation where you just have no idea where you're going before you finally get some sort of direction. There are a few different spirits that you'll encounter as you go along, and some of these are quite memorable, to be fair. They have quite larger than life personalities, and each of them has their own quirks or ways that you'll need to defeat them or get past them, bringing some almost humour, like dark humour at times, to the game in certain ways, which whilst I do like my horror to play straight, it does work quite well. You know, it's a good blend of the two.
Okay, so moving on to visuals and audio then. The game runs on the Unity engine. As you can see, it's first-person perspective, it's 3D, and it actually looks quite nice. Now, the reason I say actually is because we've played a lot of these first-person horror games where textures take ages to load in, or the clarity of items is just terrible until you're within inches of it. We did encounter a single bug here where the textures didn't load properly.
Yeah, there was, when I first started the game, so obviously we played it separately, for some reason the textures were incredibly blurry, making it quite difficult to see what was going on, so I had to restart the game, and from this point onwards it's always been fine. But when you played it, you didn't encounter this, did you?
No, it was fine from the start.
Yeah, but when it's running as it should be, so if you do have any issues, try restarting the game. As Marc just said, it is very clear, and it does help to bring the world to life when you can read the posters on the wall and what have you.
Yeah, and performance-wise, it targets 30 and it can maintain it almost always. I didn't notice any significant stutters or frame pacing issues there. When it comes to resolution, character models can look a little low res, particularly around areas like the hair where it gets aliased and just looks typically jaggy. You see that very often in games where resolution isn't quite there, but overall I think presents a good picture and the lighting effects look great.
On to the audio then, and here you have obviously the voice acting that's included and the music itself. So in terms of the voice acting, first and foremost, I mentioned humour a moment ago, and I think this is where that is most evident. There are a couple of characters, including the security guard that we mentioned, and one of the students, that are definitely the comic relief. You know, they bring that to the party. But I did feel that for the most part the voice acting did a good job of keeping the story straight and portraying things in a way that made you want to keep playing and see where the story would go.
Yeah, those comic relief, as you put them, characters, did remind me of some of the classic like horror films. You always get those weird characters, don't you?
Very much so. It's a major trope of the horror genre to have a comic relief character. You know, this is nothing new for sure, and many people love that about horror, having that character that almost sometimes personifies the watching audience, seeing these strange things happening and commenting in a way that maybe you feel you would in such a situation. Like I said, I do like my horror to play it straight, so for me they weren't necessarily needed, but I can understand why they're there.
When it comes to the sound, there is directional sound, because I had a set of headphones on when I was first trying to evade the security guard, and he walks over to like a poster and starts doing kung fu kicks and stuff, and I could hear that in the distance and was like, what on earth's going on in there? So I went and had a little peek. And he's in there doing his little Daniel LaRusso routine.
Yeah, that use of audio cues like footsteps, it reminded me actually of a game called White Day, which is also on the Switch, quite possibly from P-Cube as well actually, and that idea of having to use those cues to keep yourself safe. Aside from this, you have the background music, of course, which is quite understated, and there's nothing wrong with that as far as I'm concerned. You know, it's okay to have it just play a secondary or a supporting aspect to the game. It does become more prominent as things go awry and the scares start to manifest, but I feel it's always there without intruding on the gameplay.
The game retails at £20.99, although it does have a sale that goes on until October the 30th, which takes that down by 10%. There's also a physical of this one.
There is, which I don't believe the first game got outside of Asia, so it's nice to see that getting a Western release, obviously through P-Cube.
It is also available on other platforms, things like the PS5, 4, Xbox, as well as Steam, and it has a 6GB download.
So there you have it, that's The Bridge Cursed 2, The Extrication. It's a game I've been playing and enjoying over the last few nights, and it's a nice one to play in the build up to Halloween, which, if you're watching this on the day of release, is a few days away. Thank you again to P-Cube for sponsoring this video. Don't forget, we are looking to give a couple of copies away. If you want to be in with a chance of winning one of those, just let us know your favourite horror film in the comment section below.
Yeah, lovely stuff. Glen will reply to one of you. I'm not a horror man, I wouldn't know what you're chatting about.
A quick thank you to our patrons and our channel members for your continued support, and to each and every one of you for watching our videos. Take care, and until next time, happy gaming.